your charity has reached like its goal point. So like, how do you feel
Mhm.
about that? Like it reaching $1,000?
It's still kind of surreal, to be honest. $1,000 is a lot of money to raise for something that I care about. So the fact we've been able to raise that at such the small size that I am, with the help of all these people I never would have thought I would meet, was just really cool to see.
Hello everyone, welcome back for another episode of Deep Blue. My name is Casey, and for today we have another special guest. Brought with us today is someone who explained every Nintendo franchise for charity. His name is Sten. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, pretty good. Well, let me put my questions up. I didn't have them. It's all good. I probably should have done that earlier. So,
No, you're good.
so out of all of the That One songs in your playlist, which one is your favorite? You have a playlist that's called That One Song.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was talking about your Spotify playlist. You have a playlist that's called That One Song, and all the songs are just called That One Song.
That was some bit I did like 2 years ago. It wasn't even for a video or anything. I didn't even know I still had that. I've never listened to any of them. I
You didn't even
just
listen to
go
any
in
of
by
them.
name.
What was that even for? Like, why do you just have like a playlist called That One Song?
I was just in a call hanging out with a friend of mine, and there was just a bit that I guess we talked about at one point. Pulling up a bunch of things that were called that one song or variants of it, and then just never really elaborated on it since. It lasted for a bit for like 10 minutes, and we moved on with our life.
Awesome. So for anyone,
I
yeah,
guess I
yeah,
just
go
never
ahead.
deleted it because I forgot it was there.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't really know who you are, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Sten. I make YouTube content, mostly stuff around gaming. I used to do a lot of gameplay, but then realized, wow, this isn't actually all that fulfilling for me. So I decided to do more stuff about talking about video games, like the one that he mentioned, where I got 154 other content creators together, and we all kind of our goal was to give a brief explanation of every Nintendo series that's ever existed. Everyone had full creative control over their script, and after everybody finished it, they're like roughly 2 minute segment per person. We fused it all together into this big collage that lasted like 5 hours and 45 minutes, and did it for charity because I'm not gonna make any money off of it anyway, and there's gonna be a lot of eyes on it anyway, so we might as well do something good with it.
Awesome, awesome. So like, what led to that? What led to you making that charity? Like the story behind that.
So originally the project was just kind of a for fun kind of deal that me and a friend of mine were talking about. Fun fact, before that project I only knew about 40 people. So we were like, all right, we'll get this Discord server together. We'll get a bunch of people in it, and we'll just kind of build it over time as I meet new people. What we didn't expect was everyone that we need for the project to join the project in the span of like a month tops, which is very shocking for my size. I just thought it'd be a cool thing to put a project together where almost everybody had an equal part to play in putting the project together. And then after a while, somebody brought up to me like, "Hey, what are you gonna do with the money that's made from this video?" I'm like, I never really thought that far ahead because I'm a small guy and I didn't expect to ever reach a point where I could make money from it. So, he mentioned the idea of charity. I'm like, I actually love that idea. I've been wanting to do a charity thing for a long time, and now this is my chance to finally do that. And so I did.
So then explaining every Nintendo franchise part came first before the all right, let's do a charity thing.
Yeah,
So
pretty
like why
much.
explain like every Nintendo franchise or game?
We went with Nintendo because Nintendo is something I'm already very familiar with. So
Mhm.
it was already in my comfort zone. And indie games is my other comfort zone, but Nintendo
Mhm.
felt like the easiest place to start since everyone has at least played one Nintendo game in their life. You know?
Yeah. So how do you think you pick like which Nintendo franchise to choose from? Because you had a lot of like, of course, you had like your Mario's, your Kirby's, your Zeldas, and then you
Yeah.
had like very obscure ones like the 3DS baseball game. I think I remember seeing like, I think when I got to Chupo's part, I think he talked about some really obscure like DS game. Like which, how do you define like what Nintendo? what Nintendo franchises to talk about.
So, do you mean like what's included in the video total, or like what each person is going to talk about?
Yeah, like how do you know which Nintendo franchises to talk about? Like what makes something like, let's say, some one-off Nintendo sports game part of that series, and maybe not something, let's say, like it's not exactly a Nintendo franchise, but it's a Nintendo exclusive. Let's say something like, did you put Bayonetta in your video? I'm trying to remember.
We did not. I know it's kind of in a gray area, but based on what we've been
Yeah.
able to find, we just kind of settled it down to it's owned by Sega more than Nintendo.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of gray areas like that, and 9 times out of 10, we just kind of went with our gut.
Yeah. Yeah. That was just like what I was asking. Like, which one? Like, how do you know which Nintendo franchise to pick from that aren't like aren't like the big names like Pokemon or Mario?
So I went with Mario because it was the largest one, but for everybody else, we had everybody vote for what series they'd want to cover. We had them choose five, and from there, we had to kind of narrow it down based on what people voted on to what they'd want to cover most. And everyone who didn't end up with a series that they didn't vote for just kind of had to end up with one of the leftovers that nobody got. Um,
Mhm.
that's how people ended up with some really obscure random series that nobody's ever heard of, including myself.
So like, what's your so why a mental health charity out of like all the charities you could have picked from?
So, mental health is something I've been pretty passionate about for a while because I've just met so many people in my life that have struggled with that
Hmm.
kind of thing. And I didn't really have a whole lot of mental health issues growing up, so I wanted to do something to help those that were struggling.
Who like how do you know which charity to pick like out of like many? Like did you just like settle on one? Did you just kind of like do research on, yeah, this charity seems reputable. I'll pick that.
Yeah, pretty much that second thing you said.
Yeah,
Just looked
okay.
around, seen which ones there were, and went with whichever one I felt was most reliable.
So how was it like getting like all those like creators on, yeah, on this project?
So, straight up, getting most of the people, I feel like was quite a lot of luck on my part.
Mhm.
At first, after we had gone through everybody that I already knew, we just kind of reached out to random content creators that I found on my YouTube or like in my recommendations. For one of them, it was a guy named Wacko. I found, okay, so my co-organizer Loganiel sent me a link to a YouTube channel named Stone Scone, and it's like, all right, I'll take a look at it. And I looked around, like, all right, seems like he could be a good fit, but couldn't find any way to reach out to him reliably. But while I was watching a Scone video, there was this other guy who was talking about the messenger in one of his videos, and like, this guy's got good taste. I'll try to reach out to this guy instead. And then I
Mhm.
did, and he after Wacko joined, he's like, "Hey, I have this Discord server with a bunch of content creators. You're welcome to ask them if they want." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And the next thing I knew, there was like 50 people that joined
Mhm.
in the span of a week. So it was pretty overwhelming, but also exciting more than anything, seeing all these people come together just for this one project that I just decided to do on a whim. Uh,
So who do you think is like the craziest name you got?
so there's a few. I don't know if I can pick one, but some of the ones that were really shocking to me, I never knew about too much about him personally, but I guess other people in the project were. His name's John Cartwright. I guess he used to work for Game Explain, but now he does Good Vibes Gaming, and I guess he's kind of a decent sized name, so that was pretty cool. One of the ones that caught me off guard the most was Solid JJ. Once we turned it into a charity thing, because I didn't reach out to super big creators, because my thought process was like, oh, they're a big creator, they're probably not going to be interested. So I reached out. Once we hit charity, I'm like, all right, it's for charity now. Worst thing that they say is no. Big deal. So I just reached out to a bunch of creators, no matter what size they were, and Solid JJ was one of them. I'm like, hey, you want to be a part of this? He's like, yeah, sure, I'm game. Pun intended. And then there he was.
Do
So that was pretty cool.
you still like talk to like many of these creators now that you got on the, because you have them all added on Discord, I assume. So do you like
Yep.
still talk to any of them now, and do you have like
Yeah.
plans to like work with them in the future?
Definitely, there are that wacko group that I mentioned. I've been talking with them a lot lately. They're pretty cool guys. I whenever I do more of these, I definitely want to bring as many as I can back in the future
Mhm.
because I definitely want to do more of these. This was a lot of fun.
And like, what was it like making that? Because like I went through the credits. Of course, you got all the different creators, and then you have a whole team of like editors. So like, how was it like just making that whole project too?
Uh, I'd I'd like to say it went the most smoothly, but like all things considered, it did go relatively smoothly. There were a couple hiccups here and there, but you're gonna get that with a project with as many people as we did. Those editors were essentially there for those who, for one reason or another, couldn't edit their own segment. So we had some backup just in case, so somebody else could do it for them. All they had to do was write it and record it, and then we could take care of the rest.
And how did you manage to get a counter for different categories like Smash Bros and JoJo references? Where did that come from?
So before we released the video, we did a live watch along specifically in the Discord server where the project's being organized with everybody. Whoever wants to join in on the watch along that was part of the project was welcome to watch it. And then we just started making counters for the fun of it while we were watching because of how many times things were mentioned and how many times things happened. Like how many times Super Smash Brothers was mentioned. We have a lot of Hollow Knight content creators in there because of my previous video, and I guess they have so much experience waiting on something that might not ever come out that they got really hyped whenever Smash Brothers was mentioned.
That's awesome. So like your charity has reached like its goal point. So like how do you feel
Mm-hmm.
about that? Like it reaching $1,000.
It's still kind of surreal, to be honest. $1,000 is a lot of money to raise for something that I care about. So the fact we've been able to raise that at such the small size that I am with the help of all these people I never would have thought I would meet was just really cool to see.
And then also like the actual video itself has 10,000 views. So do you have like any thoughts and feelings about that one too?
Uh, Pretty much the same as I would say for the
Mhm.
charity thing. It's cool to put work into something and actually feel like it's paid off, you know?
So you said like I think you said in a tweet that you got to your goal point in the charity like much faster than you thought. How fast did you think like you were going to get to that $1,000 point?
So I'd probably say maybe like at least a few more extra months that probably I would have guessed it would have taken. I know I'm hoping to do the next one. I don't know if this is a question later, but I'm hoping to do another video like it, but probably not going to start working on it until next summer. So I was hoping if we do hit our goal that we'd at least get it done by then.
So like with getting like the content creators, was there like a specific one that you really wanted?
One of them was Maxor. I thought would be really cool. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he's
Mhm.
one of my favorite content creators. I actually did reach out to him, and he said he was unavailable because he was busy, which is fair. But the fact he responded at all is still pretty cool.
Mhm.
Another content creator that I was a big fan of, especially as of recent, was Chupo. So the fact I got him on board was pretty cool.
Yeah, me getting Shubo on for like the last episode. I did record 2 episodes in between his and this one, which I don't think those two are going to get uploaded for their own
Mm-hmm.
reasons. But yeah, Chupo was like really surprising to get on my show because like I was a fan of him since last year, and then and I was really surprised because like I the way I got him, I was already in his server, and like we knew a mutual friend who I had on the show too. If you know Jaden Salads, he talks about like liminal spaces.
I think I might have heard the name before, but I never really saw him around.
Yeah, so yeah, I just asked Chupo in his server, "Hey, want to be in my podcast?" Jaden was on it, and then Chupo was like, "Yeah." I was pretty surprised by that too, and then
Yeah, he's
yeah, got
surprisingly
him
pretty
on.
chill.
Yeah, he is a chill guy, and it's like it was
Pretty
kind of
chill.
crazy because like I didn't know I was the same age as him. Me and him are both like second years in college. It's like, wow, okay. Did a lot of like your like the creators you get were like, hey, I got this creator, let me get my friend on? Because I noticed
Oh,
some
that.
creators seem to be friends with each other. Like I think Terror and Chupo, those two are friends. I assume you got one through another. I know both Sakura Stardust and L Supersonic Q. Those are like the lost media YouTubers. I
Oh
assume
yeah,
one got the other as well.
that happened a lot.
Yeah, I
That's
assume.
how we got most of the people that we got on the project.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't actually get Terror from Chupo. We got it from somebody else in the project. It
Mm-hmm.
was I think it was Vidi. Oh no, Terror heard about the project through a live stream that Chazington was doing because that circle is friends with each other, so they were talking about it within the chat, I guess. So
Yeah,
that
I've
was
been
kind of
trying to.
funny.
Yeah, I've been trying to see how I can get into contact with Terry because me and him have a bunch of mutuals too. Yeah, I'll see. Maybe in the future. But yeah, another thing I want to ask is like, yeah, just talk about the next one, the indie game project, or the indie game charity.
So I'm very excited about that one. If there's anything I like more than Nintendo games, it's indie games.
What's your
Um,
favorite?
Hollow Knight, easily.
Oh, not easily. Okay.
Yeah, Hollow Knight's actually my favorite game, period. So that's not all that surprising for me. Um, Essentially, how that one's gonna work is it rather than every indie game, because let's be honest, that's not gonna work. There's so many
Yeah.
out there. The video will never get done. So it's gonna be like 100 indie games that you should play, and we're just gonna set it at that limit. And rather than saying, "All right, here is a series, and you have to explain what it's about," it's more of a, "Here is an indie game, and this is why you should play it." Is essentially what everyone's supposed to do. So, and the nice thing about the indie game thing is they're guarantee you anybody who'd be interested in a project like that has at least played one indie game. So it's not like someone's going to end up with a series they've never heard of. Everybody's going to end up with something that they know.
So how do you know which indie games to talk about?
So how it's going to work is whenever we, at least the plan right now, which is probably what we're going to go with, is similar to how we decided to assign the Nintendo series, except it's vote on 5 indie games that you'd want to cover the most in order of how much you'd want to cover them, and then we'd spin a wheel with everybody's name on it, and whoever it lands on gets whatever series is at the top of their list that hasn't already been taken, and then we'll just keep doing that until we've gone through everybody.
Okay, now I have to ask about like specific series. So the first for the indie game ones, the first one I want to ask is Undertale. Are you going to put Undertale and Deltarune in like the same category, or would you keep them separate?
That's something I haven't thought about yet. I'll come back to that later when the time comes.
Okay, how about something like, let's say, like Minecraft? Minecraft was an indie game, but like now it's like not really considered one anymore. Would you like, if like, would you still add Minecraft or any other indie game still in it? That's
So
in like
I
that.
was expecting Minecraft was going to be my first guess of what you were going to bring up, so I was
Yeah.
prepared for this. So my thought is we're going to go with indie games that are created by a company that is currently not AAA or owned by a AAA company. So Minecraft would not count, and even then, it's Minecraft. Anybody who's interested in playing Minecraft has probably already played it. So I don't think it's really that big of a loss if we don't have Minecraft in the video. You know what I mean?
So do you still plan to do like the same charity you did with the Nintendo ones for the indie games one?
Yes. Yep. That's the plan.
Nice, nice. And are you gonna like get a lot of the same creators from the Nintendo one to the indie game one?
Definitely. I'd like to have a nice mixture of people that we've had on before and new creators just to keep things fresh. So that part's going to be really difficult about having to pick and choose who's going to be on. But even if somebody doesn't make it onto the next one, it's not like they can't make it onto another one that comes later, you know?
So how long did it take you to make that Nintendo one?
So we started it in, I want to say, May of this year, and we released it in November. How many months is that?
June, July, August, September, October, like 5 to 6 months, I'd say.
That's it. That's the answer.
So this really did take a while. Like, what was like most of that time spent doing?
So a lot of that time, once we had everybody together, was definitely just kind of waiting on everybody to get their segments done. Pretty much, getting people together was surprisingly didn't take as long as I would have expected. Like I mentioned before, so most of that time was actually making the segments themselves after it was all assigned.
So if you were to split it, so like let's say getting the people, having the people record their stuff, actually making the video, and of course like yeah, just like any other like processes, like how would you split it?
So there was the recruitment phase, obviously. And then I would say the assigning phase where we actually like assign who gets what series. Then everybody writes their segment. We did that in one period and then everybody edits their segment. That way it's easier for us to keep track of who's done with what, you know. and then after everybody's edited their segment and sent it my way, all I gotta do is piece it all together, which is surprisingly easy because realistically, I don't have to do anything too fancy. I just have to take the segments and piece them together with transition slides in the middle. That's it.
All right, and before we move on to from your charity segment, I just want to say, like, if you ever need a name for the indie game charity or any other charity event, I got you. I got you.
All right, I'll keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, of course. So one thing I want to ask is, did Jack's Films ever put your comment in a video?
No,
You didn't like see his like what was it called? A Y, Yai? Yeah, his
yeah,
Y. You didn't see it.
nope, never made it.
You never made it on. You remember what you
Unfortunately,
asked
not.
him?
Nope.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then another thing is like, where did your first username come from? The real powerful cell. Where'd that come from?
That was my username on Minecraft. And then after a while, I was like, wow, this username kind of sucks, actually. I want to do something that's not a mouthful, because 90% of the time, when there was like a streamer or another creator that said my name, they never pronounced it right. I'm like, I'm going to go with Sten, actually, instead, because that sounds shorter, snappier, and easier to remember.
Yeah. So where'd Sten come from?
So it was a random conversation I was having with a good friend of mine, where it was just kind of a what if we took everyone's names and just shortened them, and for me it just ended up being they shortened them into one syllable, and me it was Sten because my name is Steven. That's all it was.
Okay. Yeah, and not too long ago, you were on a show called Name That Track. What led up to that, and just talk about the whole experience there.
So Zalem was one of the other people in the project, and he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, to help promote the charity project, I thought we'd get a couple other people in the project and yourself, and do an episode of Name That Track to promote it." So he asked me to pick out 3 other people, and I did, and we did that. It was a lot of fun. I've done my own like video game OST game shows on my public Discord server just for fun, nothing for like videos or anything. So it was nice. It was kind of cool being on the other end of that for a change.
And then you were also on another game show called Q Name.
Yes, that was another guy who was in the project. I know, big shock.
Yeah.
He reached out to me, asked me to answer a variety of questions in a video, and I just kind of did it all in one take because I thought it would be fun that way, with completely unscripted, and went with it. I think it turned out pretty funny.
Awesome, awesome. And so, like, what got you like interested in doing these game shows? Because you are on them, like I asked, but also like you just said, like you host them on your Discord server. So what's your relationship with game shows?
So I just find video game trivia fun, just really interesting to me. Even if I know it's not gonna really help me down the line, it's just nice. I just find that stuff kind of cool. I'm a editor for a wiki that I help with. It's called the Crossover Wiki, and I've learned a lot of like random, pointless bits of media trivia, especially with video games on there.
Oh, what's the crossover wiki? You want to just talk about that one?
So the crossover wiki is essentially a wiki where we catalog all of the crossovers and references and collaborations in all kinds of fictional media and put it all in one place. I've been helping out with it since like 2021, 2022, something like that. That's how I met Loganiel, actually. He's one of the other editors.
Interesting, interesting. So it's like different crossovers in fiction. So let's say like Smash Bros, or let's say like
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite, like stuff like that.
Yep, pretty much. From really popular stuff to I've made like over 600 pages on that wiki, and I'll guarantee you over 99% of those I've never heard of, and I still don't. I only know what it's crossed over with. That's it.
So it also includes like, let's say a DLC of one game has like, what am I thinking of? I think like a DLC of one game has like you dressing up as another character. That would also count as like a crossover.
Yep.
Okay, what was like the craziest crossover you had to like cover?
It's a hard question. I think I'll answer it with this instead, if that's fine. My favorite
Of
rabbit
course.
hole that I went down with was the Lego rabbit hole. Believe it or not, the entirety of Lego is not one page. Every line of Lego products is a separate page. So like Lego City, Jago, Every line of Lego products is essentially its own page. So I had to go through and figure out how every single Lego property connected to one another.
And like, how is that like?
Surprisingly really fun for some reason. It took a while, but I managed to piece what can confidently say is most, if not everything, that I can reasonably cover.
Awesome, awesome. So another thing I want to ask is like, how big is your U2's collection?
I'm looking at it right across the room. There's like at least 50
Fif-
products. I've been collecting them since like late 2019. My first figure was Pyrocynical, and it's been downhill from there. Just kidding.
So what got you into like collecting like these figurines of YouTubers?
So I just overall just kind of like the designs. I like them more than Funko just because rather than taking the same base model and reusing it over and over again like Funko does, U2's
Mhm.
uses a separate mold for every product, so it makes them feel more distinct from one another. And I was already pretty well versed in like the YouTube community, so just getting figures of my favorite creators was just kind of cool.
What would you say is like your best one, like your best U2's figure?
So, my favorite figure is probably Pyrovision. It is the second Pyrocynical figure. Some of the other uh, figures that I think have really cool designs. There's one for Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club that I thought was
Mhm.
pretty cool. They're Marvel ones. Like I have the one for Spider-Man and one of the ones for Deadpool that turn out really good.
Mhm.
Those ones especially because they're rather than just being like they could have easily just been like, oh, we'll just pick a character from one of the movies and then just make a figure out of it. They based all of their superhero figures, for the most part, off of actual comic covers, and
Oh,
they turned out
oh,
really
okay.
good because of that.
I remember there was a U2's. I was like contemplating buying it. Like I don't usually buy U2's or just figurines in general, but I saw when it was the Hatsune Miku Garfield. It was like a crossover between I think it was yeah just Miku wearing like Garfield pajamas. I was
Yep.
contemplating buying it because it was like a limited edition. I
Yeah.
ended up not getting it, but it seemed cool.
Yeah. I don't have that one, but it is pretty cool. Yeah.
What's like the most like what's the rarest one you have? Because I assume some YouTubers like maybe they got canceled, maybe they passed away, or maybe like YouTube's just like had a YouTube's up for a day and then got rid of it, or maybe there's like a malfunctioned one. So like, what's like the most valuable one you have?
I don't actually know about the YouTubers that are canceled thing. I guarantee you, every time a YouTube's or for a figure comes out, and then that person gets canceled, the price of that product, or like how much is worth, plummets.
Plummets. Okay.
Yeah, nobody wants it anymore, which is fair, to be honest. To be fair, but I don't know if any of my figures are like completely rare. I would say because I never really looked into it. I just kind of collect them for fun. I have U2's Monopoly. I don't know if that's rare, but I have it.
YouTube's Monopoly. Is that just so? What is that? Is that just like regular Monopoly, but instead of like the pieces, it's YouTube's, or is there something more to it?
It's just Monopoly, but it's U2's themed, pretty much.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. So another thing I want to ask is like, let's start on your childhood. So just talk about you just being surrounded by like video games, anime, and just YouTube. Like, just talk about that.
So, growing up, obviously, I was big into video games. I mainly grew up with the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 2, because that's what my parents had. Eventually, I got a Wii and then a 3DS, and those ones especially shaped the games that I'm into now. For the longest time, I only really played Nintendo and Minecraft, and then just never played anything else because I didn't think I'd like it. And then after a while, I decided to expand my horizons, and it was the smartest decision I've ever made. Because
Hmm.
there are so many of my favorite games I would never be able to play otherwise. Like Persona 5, I love that game so much, and if I didn't branch out, I never would have played it. Same goes for Hollow Knight, Stardew Valley, A Hat in Time, all that stuff. As for anime, I never really watched a lot of anime.
Hmm.
I've maybe seen like four all the way through.
Hmm.
My personal favorite's probably Spy X Family. I like that one. That one's pretty good.
And like, how about like with YouTube? Like, how like what was like your start like watching YouTube? Because like I see like on your second channel, like you started making YouTube videos like since 7 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like
Uh,
also like this transition also to you starting YouTube.
so the very first YouTuber I remember watching, off the top of my head, was a random Minecraft Let's Play by a smaller creator named JTunes. I don't know if he makes content nowadays. Last time I checked, he did
Mhm.
FIFA and then just dipped years ago. I haven't checked in a while though, so I don't know. Then after that, I got big into Skydo's Minecraft, which is unfortunate
Oh yeah.
to say the least. Um, and then it was because of him that I started making content. Actually started a YouTube channel with my brother, and I think that was like maybe I was 14, 15 years old, maybe 15. That sounds more accurate. And then after a while, it stopped. It seemed like he didn't really care. So of course, me being a dumb idiot child, I was like, "All right, my brother, you're fired," and I quit, and then made a new channel. And that's what my current second channel is. After a
Mhm.
while, I felt like I kind of dug myself into a hole because I kind of lost track of what I wanted to make. So everything that I put out felt like completely unrelated to one another. There was no consistency essentially.
Mhm.
All the content was very different from one another, and the don't even get me started on the upload schedule or lack thereof. So I decided to start fresh with a new channel where all specifically my higher quality stuff would go, like the Nintendo video or my scuffed guides, which you've probably at least seen the Hollow Knight one because it's the only one that's there.
Mhm. Yeah, so, like, what made you wanna start making these video essays rather than, like, what you had on your previous channel with, like, the Discord calls and the gameplay? Like, what made you, like, shift into, like, this new form of content on this new
So
channel?
the Discord calls and the gameplay and whatnot, it was fun to record, but I didn't really feel like I was like actually passionate about it. So I wanted to
Mhm.
take something that I was passionate about, which is talking about video games, and just kind of run with it. I was pretty inspired to by Maxor to do that because I was in a call with another good friend of mine named Squeaker, and we were watching a Maxor video, and she was like, "Hey, what if you do this but with Hollow Knight?" And I just stopped for a second. I'm like, "Wait, why don't I?" So I that's why I decided to do Hollow Knight, and just kind of in my own style with more focus on character interactions. Because I did a few like video game reviews on my what is now my second channel, and while those were also fun, I don't know if reviews are really my thing. I think I just more like talking about the objective like aspects of the game and just kind of
Mhm.
sharing what the game is about and you know.
So with the Hollow Knight video, how did you manage to get, like, a whole team to edit and voice for your Hollow Knight video?
So editing was all me.
Mhm.
I edited that whole video. That's why it took me a year. Most of the other people that were in there were just people that I knew personally. That were just kind of, hey, I need someone to voice a character for me. Get down? He's like, yeah, sure, I'm down. And then they all hopped in and helped out.
So give a bit of a Hollow Knight retrospective because I did play the game, like, a few years ago, it was on Xbox Game Pass, and then, like, I got lost in the first few minutes, and I just kinda forgot about it, so, like but it does seem like a very popular game, and I feel like if I give it another chance, I'll like it because I do like Metroidvanias, so,
Mm-hmm.
like, for you, like, why Hollow Knight? Why is Hollow Knight, like, that special game to the point it was your first YouTube video?
So interestingly, whenever I played Hollow Knight for the first time, I bought it like maybe a year and a half before I actually like really got into it, and I played it and didn't really get into it. It just didn't really appeal to me all that much. And then like I guess a year and a half later, I decided, hey, I'm gonna give it another shot, and then played it and just absolutely loved it to death because some of my favorite things to do in video games is just collect things, and
Mhm.
Metroidvanias are like huge when it comes to exploration. I already love platformers, so that was kind of a given. And just the boss fights do a really good job at making you feel like accomplished when you actually beat them. Also, aside from like the art style, which I'm sure most people would probably tell you as well, it does a really good job as a Metroidvania to make you feel like by the end of the game you've pretty much conquered the world. It's like areas that you struggled through before, you can fly through with no problem since with all your new upgrades and abilities.
Nice, nice. So, are you just, like, a big fan of Metroidvanias in general? Like, do you like other ones, like, let's say, Dead Cells, maybe, like, the Metroid series, of course, the Castlevania series?
So Hollow Knight was actually my first Metroidvania that I got into, and it was because of
Ah.
Hollow Knight. that I decided to play Metroid. I've played Super Metroid and Metroid Dread. Both are really fun. I actually very recently played Metroid Prime, which was also really fun. I didn't really know much about Metroid Prime outside of the fact it's a shooter where you play as Samus. So I wasn't actually aware that it was essentially just a Metroidvania but in 3D, and they did a really good job at that. And honestly, now that I think about it, there's not really a whole lot of games that really do that. Most Metroidvanias are 2D, so you don't really see a lot of 3D ones nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I have played Haiku the Robot, which I thought was pretty fun, and I have yet to play much Castlevania. I played Castlevania 3, but that's really about it. I played a
Mm-hmm.
couple of the other ones, but not a whole lot. I really want to
Mm-hmm.
play Symphony of the Night. I just don't have the money to play it.
Oh, I played that one. I just got it on an emulator. I didn't like buy it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
The thing is, I have games on my PC, but I find it really a lot easier for me to actually get engaged with a game when it's on my TV and I'm just sitting relaxed in my recliner or my bed
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Because I'm so used to when I'm at my computer, I'm working on stuff. So it's when you're at your computer, even when you're playing a game, it's hard to get out of that mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, with Symphony of the Night, like I just remembered that. So there's two. I guess there's two endings to the game. So there's a bad ending to the game, and I thought I beat the game at the bad ending, but really, because you when you get to the certain boss fight, I don't know if this is spoiler territory, but when you get to the certain boss fight, you're supposed to have a certain weapon equipped. I didn't have that weapon equipped. I ended up getting the bad ending just to find out that there's a whole other area to explore, and that wasn't even at the end of the game. That's what I remember from Symphony of the Night. I don't
All
think I
right,
beat it. Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind because I didn't know there was two endings.
Yeah. Yeah, there was another Castlevania game. That's one of my favorite games in general. It's called Castlevania. I think it's I forgot what it was called now, but it was with the white haired character, and he's a reincarnation of Dracula. That one's really fun.
Alucard?
It's it's a so Dracula, he reincarnates into a Japanese teenager in this Castlevania. That's
Do
the plot of that one.
you know what
But it's a
console
really
it's
fun
on?
game. Which one?
Do you know what console it's on?
It's on Game Boy Advance, but I know there's the
Okay.
remastered versions that are on Switch and PlayStation. It might be on Steam too.
Okay. Because I know some Castlevania games I've learned is their subtitle is the acronym of it is supposed to represent what console it's on. So Dawn of Sorrow was on DS, for
Oh,
example.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. Hmm. Yeah.
I don't remember what other examples. I think it was Harmony of Dissonance or something like that is HD. It was on HD console.
Oh, okay. That
Stuff
makes a
like
lot of
that.
sense. Okay. I
I
didn't
did
even know that.
I I learned that not too long ago, and I'm not even a
Mhm.
Castlevania guy. I just happen to know that, I guess.
Yeah. So, what are some other video essays you want to make in the future? What games do you want to talk about in the future?
So my Scuff guide, like my Hollow Knight one, is the main series I want to do. I have some other ideas for games that I want to make Scuff guides on. My next one is probably going to be a smaller one for Slime Rancher. I've already written it and recorded it. It's going to be a smaller one. There's not really going to be anyone else involved. It was just something I wanted to take a break from the big projects and do something a little smaller for a change. I'd like to upload more than once a year, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I played Slime Rancher. I got so confused because I thought it was just in an infinite loop. It was I feel like I need to be doing something different. Whenever I play Slime Rancher, all I'm doing is collecting slimes, feeding them chickens, and then trying my best not to get killed by the black slimes. I'm just I feel like I need to do something. I'm just not sure what it is.
Yeah, I know it can be a little vague
Yeah.
sometimes, but once you figure out what to do, there's not really an ending. There is, but it's not a focus of the game.
Hmm.
To unlock new areas and whatnot, you have to get a key from these bigger slimes called Gordo slimes or something like that by
Okay.
feeding them a bunch of stuff that you unlock more areas. And eventually, you get to the desert, stuff like that.
So you have the Slime Rancher pretty much have you started editing that one yet, or you're going to start at pretty soon?
I've edited. I'm in kind of an editor's block right now because the problem with getting footage for that game is there's not a whole lot of mod support for it, and that's just the fact that there's just not a lot of people that make mods for the game, and because of that, there's not really a cinematic camera mod where you can just turn off the HUD and just take scenic shots. There is a way to like turn off the HUD in game, but it doesn't get rid of your backpack at all.
Mhm.
So that one's just it's just stuck on screen the whole time. So I almost can. So I'm just trying to figure out what kind of footage to show when I'm like first introducing certain segments.
You give a bit of a retrospective on Slime Rancher. What made you make a video on Slime Rancher?
So for Slime Rancher, it was whenever I started working on it. It was a game that I was already pretty fresh in my mind because I had recently played it. It felt like it'd be an easy video to put together. I already had some ideas in mind of how I wanted to present it. Obviously, I don't want to give away what's in the video,
Mhm.
but it felt like it'd be because there's not really any characters in it.
Mhm.
There are, but they're like not like major characters, so I wouldn't have to worry about gathering a bunch of people for voice acting. It just felt like it'd be a relatively simple game that I would like and is not over covered to death.
Mhm.
Like it was like Minecraft or something.
Yeah, that's another thing I was gonna ask. Like, I can imagine that there are other like retrospectives and video essays on Slime Rancher, Hollow Knight, or whatever game you'd want to talk about. So, do you like watch other like people's videos on it, like before you make your own?
Most of the time, when I watch other similar videos, like Maxor, for example, those ones I mainly just kind of watch for fun. I don't really watch them for like inspiration or anything.
Mhm.
Most of the ideas that I have for videos kind of come from up here for the most part. Like I'll just be doing something else in my off time, and music is a big thing where I'm listening to music, and whatever the music is that's playing in my head will help me picture a scene and give me
Mhm.
ideas for videos, for example.
So, like, let's say there's another like there's another video essay on Slime Rancher or Hollow Knight. How would you like what's like your unique spin on like either of those games or like any game in general when like making these?
So for me, my unique style is mainly more focused on the characters themselves. So that's why there's usually a lot more voice acting when it comes to that as compared to like a Maxor video, for example, who's not that it's bad or anything. That's just more of my style with the characters and whatnot. Because one of my favorite things to do with videos is to just one of my favorite aspects of making videos is being able to bring people together to do something cool, and the characters are a good way to be able to do that.
What are some other games you want to do in the future?
So, I think it'd be fun to do a couple Zelda game. I'm not entirely sure which one. I haven't really narrowed it down, but I definitely want to do a Zelda game for a scuff guide, like maybe Breath of the Wild, because it'd be weird to do the sequel first. Definitely some more indie games. I think A Hat in Time would be pretty fun. Sometime down the line, whenever I hopefully am able to do this full time, because that would be pretty cool. I'd like to do like an episodic one on Persona 5, which that's gonna take a while.
Mhm.
But again, I just don't really have the time right now since I also have a full time job. So I'm saving that for when I'm able to actually spend more time making content.
So yeah, I noticed like you also have like a Twitch account too. Like, do you like still live stream? Did you live stream in the past? Like, do you like is it something you're gonna do in the future, like eventually?
I probably would, probably not as of late, just because again I have a lot on my plate. I'd
Mhm.
like to stream, but not like take it seriously or anything. Just kind of a fun thing to do on the side. I've mainly been streaming on YouTube though. Not super often, but I know I recently did, not long after the Nintendo video came out, I did a live stream with a software called the Video Game Shuffler, where if you have an emulator and you get a bunch of ROMs together, while you're in the middle of gameplay, it'll randomly switch you to another one at a random point that you set. So, like for me, I set it between 1 minute and 5 minutes. Anywhere between that range, it'll swap me to another game in the middle of it. So I did
Mhm.
that one recently. I do stream. It's just not very common at all because it's just not really a focus right now.
Okay, talk about the video game shuffler because that's interesting to me. So you get switched into another game in the middle of another game. I'm
Yep.
just wondering how that works.
So rather than it being like, okay, you're in the middle of a level and then it'll swap to the next one and boot up a new one from the title screen, it doesn't start from the title screen. So like you'll start one game, you'll play through it, and it'll swap you to a different one. And then after a while, if when it brings you back to that game that you had already started, it actually just starts you off where you last left off.
Oh, okay,
I don't
okay.
know how it does that, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I have like so many questions about that one because like imagine you're playing like a JRPG, like you're playing like one day you're playing Super Mario World on the emulator, and then it just switches you to like Chrono Trigger. Like, do you just go to Chrono Trigger with like the team members and your items like leveled up and stuff like that? I'm just like that's just what I'm wondering. Or like
Everything just leaves off how you last left it whenever you were swapped away from that game.
okay,
It doesn't work for all consoles. It only goes up to like I think the most recent one is DS. It doesn't include GameCube though. It just includes most of the consoles that come before that. I haven't been PlayStation is supposedly also compatible. I just haven't been able to get it to work for whatever reason.
so does it swap in one console, or could you go from like, all right, you're playing Final Fantasy VII on PS1, and then all of a sudden you're playing like Earthbound on the SNES? Can it do that, or is it just has
Yep.
to stay on the same con? Oh wow, okay.
Nope, it can swap between consoles too. There's a specific emulator that you have to use that is compatible with all of those consoles, and that's how it's able to do that.
Have you been in like a frustrating situation during that stream where like you were playing a game, like you were like about to beat a level, or you were fighting a boss, all of a sudden you're in another game out of nowhere?
I don't know if I ever got to a boss, but I know it has definitely at least once or twice
Mhm.
swapped me games while I was mid jump, and then swapped me back, and I fell in a pit because the
Awesome.
game doesn't pause either; it just switches.
Yeah. So like I also want to ask about like your avatar and your thumbnails because I saw that there is someone who is like making who made your avatar and your banner and your thumbnails for you. So like yeah, so where did that come about? Like where your character come from, like how you made this artist?
Okay, so my original avatar was originally created by a friend of mine when I was in high school named Rihanna. They created a little character, or not really a character. It was mainly just me, and then it that became my profile picture, and then I got another artist that updated it to make it look nicer, and then the one that it's at now is name is Dela. He's a member of the U2's community because yes, there is a community for that,
Hmm.
and that's how I got the one I have now. And because of their art style and the way that they light it, other people that have done my art for me took like the hair for example and just said that's what my hair looks like, which isn't correct. But then I was like, I kind of like this actually, and then we just kept it that way. So
Hmm.
every change that's been made since that first drawing was not actually made by me. It was made by the art. It just kind of evolved with the artists that I hired to do the art, and I kind of
Hmm.
stuck with it because I like the way that it looked. The person that did my profile picture, by the way, is not the same as the person who does my thumbnails and my banner. That is a different person named Wiggle Rain that reached out to me on Twitter when I said I was looking for an artist. They're pretty good. I definitely plan on using them for my other thumbnails too, just to keep for consistency, but also just because their art looks really good.
Nice, nice. So and then I want to ask is like so you also like work as well. You work a full-time job as well. So how
Mm-hmm.
do you manage like content creation and work life alongside maybe like other things you do? Like yeah.
Able to manage is a strong word,
Yeah.
but I try my best. Right now, I work 11 to 8, which does not make it easy. I'm hoping to switch to a different shift next year. But how it normally goes is I usually do my content stuff whenever I get home from work. So if I'm able to switch to an earlier shift, then I'll be able to spend more time on my content rather than essentially feeling like my whole day is gone by the time I get home.
So like how do you like just like yeah, like split that, manage that, like do like your content creation alongside like yeah, you're working, but I assume you also have to like play the games if you want to like maybe for videos or just playing games in general, or maybe like if you have other things in your life, like how do you what's like the daily life of Sten pretty much?
So normally, on days that I work, it's normally I wake up somewhere between like 8 or 10:30, depending on what time I went to bed the previous night. Then I go to work from 11 to 8, come home, and then either I'm working on a video, or if I feel like taking it easy that day, sometimes I'll play a game. Sometimes I'll hop in a call with some Discord friends, and we'll hang out doing who knows what. My days that I'm normally off, though, it can pretty much be anything. Most of like my big plans normally are on those days off. Like if I have plans to go somewhere and hang out with a friend, or family events, or if I like really want to make some good progress on a video, and I have nothing else going on that day, I'll do it on one of the days that I normally have off. Stuff like that.
Nice, nice. So like, do you plan to do content creation full time if it does get to that point?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that has been my dream job for as long as I can remember.
So like, do you think you're going to do like content creation forever too? Like, if it does get to that full time point?
I think right now I want to say yes, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot can happen in the span of several years.
Yeah.
Things change, things happen, passion change shifts. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to really say for sure. I just love creating things, and
Mm-hmm.
YouTube right now, especially right now, is the best way for me to do that.
All right. And then like, what was I gonna ask? So like, does like does what you're doing full time, like, does it have like, you don't have to say what it is or like anything like that, but like, does it like have like anything to do with like you being creative?
Yeah.
Uh,
I love being creative and making things, especially stories. I like telling stories. I've been writing since like 6th grade. I've been writing my own stories, none of which have been published. They've mainly just been kind of fun little passion projects that I just kind of chip away at. And YouTube's
mhm.
another way for me to take that storytelling aspect and, at least at some point, be able to do something cool with it.
So you said you've been writing stories, like, like,
Mhm.
would you ever like post something on like Wattpad, or what was the other website, like fanfiction.net, or like maybe even
Um,
like take it like a different way, like write a book or write like some,
so
maybe like even make a comic.
I have a duology of novels that I'm working on right now. At some point, I think it'd be. I already have some ideas in my head, but I'd like to turn it into a video game someday. Definitely not a current goal of mine, because it's kind of on the side while I focus on my YouTube thing right now. But at some point down the line, it would be really cool to do that.
So like, what's your kind of like favorite genre of like writing, you'd say?
So at least for me, I normally write somewhere between like, let's say, fantasy, just more so down to earth, not like the usual like medieval fantasy or whatnot.
Mhm.
The one that I'm working on right now is called The Art of Living. Title pending, subject to change. It's about this kid in high school who is socially awkward. He's an artist, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of friends because he just kind of keeps to himself. And one day, while he's wandering around in the woods, he finds an art gallery, and inside that art gallery is a bunch of portraits of his fellow classmates. And it turns out he can enter those portraits, and inside each portrait is a physical representation of the hopes and dreams of the person in the portrait. And he also has a paintbrush that can draw things to life, but only in the dream worlds. And the dream worlds, as they're called, and the real world can like affect one another in various ways.
That's a cool concept. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I think you should really get that out there somehow. I feel like that seems like a story that could change someone's life if that was your intention.
That would be pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that would be like. And you said you wanted to make that into a video game. I'm just trying to wonder how would like the video game look like. Would it be like a 2D kind of like platformer in a little?
So the idea that I have in mind is how it's going to work is it's mostly from a top-down perspective, and as I said, most of this is kind of work in progress. But for the
Mm-hmm.
boss fights, primarily, is what I have pictured is they'll be from a top-down perspective, and I say like a top-down shooter, but I don't know if that's really accurate because he's drawing things to life, not like shooting a gun.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the attacks by the bosses are to the beat of the music. So it's kind of like
Oh.
Undertale, except more rhythm and music based.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever played a Hi-Fi Rush? It's like a beat 'em up. Like hack and slash game, kind of like Devil May Cry, but it's like a rhythm game.
Oh, I want to play that game so bad. I just don't have
Yeah,
an
it is
Xbox.
really fun. No, it's on PlayStation now, and I think it's also on Steam.
Is it on PlayStation now?
Yeah, it's on PlayStation because I mainly use
Hmm.
PS5 and Steam. So yeah, it came
Oh,
out
is it
on
on PS?
PlayStation. It should be on PS4. I don't. Yeah, it might
Because I
be
don't
on
have a
PS4.
PS5 yet. If I did, I'd be playing Astrobot right now.
Do you think that should have won Game of the Year?
I haven't played it, but I like to think it should.
Well, because like I remember there's like so much like I guess heat around the Game Awards. Like there's a heat around the Game Awards every year, but
Mm-hmm.
this year in particular, people were getting mad that like that some games didn't make it into the nominations, but a DLC did.
Yeah, that part's kind of
Yeah.
annoying, but I'm just glad that the DLC didn't win.
They announced like a bunch of new titles that surprised me in the Game Awards.
Yeah.
They had Okami 2, which caught me off guard because I really like that game. I can't say I love it, but I really like that game. So that caught me off guard. There's a new Turok. Who knew a new Turok game was going to come out? There's like a bunch of other new games that just came out. Like it's stuff that's like so random, and it's not what
Mm-hmm.
people were wanting. Like people wanted like Bloodborne 2 or something like that. No, like it was just like like old games like everyone forgot about, just brought back.
I never really got into a lot of the games that got sequels and whatnot in the
Mhm.
reveals, but I know a lot of the series that did come back have a lot of fans. Even though I never really got into it, I was still happy to see that series that were long, just kind of left behind, are making a return. It's just kind of a cool thing to see.
Mhm.
On that note, that Pac-Man game is weird.
Wait, are you talking
Shadow
about the?
Labyrinth.
Oh wait,
The
yeah, because like wasn't there like a whole like TV show based on that? There's like
It's
a
called like
anthology
Secret
now.
Level. Yeah,
Yeah, I heard about that.
I don't know how I feel about it. Like Pac-Man World, for example, was one of my childhood games, so I kind of had a little bit of a soft spot for Pac-Man
Hmm.
for pretty much growing up. Uh, but seeing him like this, I don't know if I like it or if I don't like it. I feel like I need to see more to really make that distinction. It's very strange, definitely.
Hmm. So, what's your personal game of the year?
If you don't want to count the Thousand Year Door,
I'll count it. Yeah, that came out this year. I feel like did that
yeah, it
come
did
out this year? Oh,
like
okay.
early this year.
Wow, this it really shows how slow this year was.
I guess as far as games that came out this year, if you don't want to count the Thousand Year Door, I'd probably say Echoes of Wisdom, the new Zelda game that came out.
Oh, that came out. Is that the one with you can play as Zelda?
Yeah, it's
That
the
came
2D
out.
one.
How was that?
It's a lot of fun. This when it comes to like the echoes, there's definitely some balancing issues. You
Mhm.
can essentially gain infinite height, which makes a lot of the puzzles just really easy to just kind of skip.
Mhm.
So and there's a lot of dialogue, which in some games I normally wouldn't care, but normally for 2D Zelda, I don't really care too much about the story. I just want to run around and explore things. When
Mhm.
there's a lot of dialogue that I, to be honest, don't really care about, kind of brings it down a little bit.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I didn't really play a whole lot of games that released this year.
All I played that released this year were Mouthwashing and then the new Yakuza game that came out, Infinite Wealth. I know
Oh yeah,
there's a what was it called? It was oh yeah, Helldivers 2. I might buy that, and then there's the new Final Fantasy. I just bought that, but I haven't played it. I haven't even finished. I didn't even finish the first one.
I
That's
still
like
need
the
to,
only four like on my
yeah,
mind in terms of this year.
I still need to finish that one. I've played it and I've loved what I've played so far. I just kept getting sidetracked by other games before
Yeah,
I
my
got to
backlog
finish
is
it.
massive. Like I have to like stop buying games at full price unless like I'm really interested in it. Like when I was like in high school and middle school, I used to like buy games for $60 just like to play them for 2 hours and never touch them again. So like now I have to buy games on sale so I can get like every penny's worth because I can't do that anymore. There's like so much money down the drain. Like my backlog is
Yeah,
massive.
yeah, me too. I have a game collection as well, and whenever I buy a new game, I always make a habit to at least try and play the game for like an hour, and then if I like it enough, I'll keep playing. If I feel like I'll come back to it and I want to play something else, I'll come back to it a different day.
Are you
But
want to
I
get
just,
like box sets or like limited editions or like pre-order like bonuses?
that stuff would be cool if it wasn't so expensive.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, and I just got a few Yeah, a few bullet questions for you. So, your favorite food?
Spaghetti, easy.
Spaghetti. Okay. If you could have any superpower, what would you get?
That's a hard question. I've heard the question before, but I've never really thought about the answer. I think it'd be kind of cool to like possess electronics. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Possess electronics.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will become a lamp, and you can't stop me.
Like prop hunt. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Don't know. I've had this question asked to me before, and my answer was always I don't know because I never really thought about it. I know later this year I plan on hopefully visiting Canada to see a good friend of mine. But
Okay.
aside from that, I've never really thought too much about it.
The answer everyone always gives me when I ask them is always Japan. Everyone always says Japan.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. Have you been to Japan, or would you go?
I think it'd be cool. Never been there before though.
I was there like a few months ago. It's a pretty cool place. I feel like you'd really like it because it's a lot more pop culture than I thought. I thought, oh wait, just one area is gonna have like this anime and video game stuff, but no, it's like you get like a street's worth of like pop culture. Like I think I just once went to a museum by accident and just had like statues of like characters. Even the airport just had a Gundam.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it is. All right, I think we can get to our segment. So just pull up that drawing app,
All
and
right.
then yeah, I'll just give a fun fact about a random marine animal, and you have to draw in under a minute. So for your Mariana
Just
sketch,
by memory.
oh, you can
How
use
do I
a
do
reference
this?
image.
Okay.
Yeah. And your Mariana sketch animal is a narwhal. And a fun fact about a narwhal is that the tusk of a narwhal is actually a tooth.
Do I have to share my screen or anything, or how
Oh
does
no,
this
you
work?
don't have to. You can just like draw it.
Okay.
Just let me know when you're ready to start. I'll start the timer, and then you just send me the image once you're done.
Okay. I think I'm ready.
You ready? All right, and your timer starts now.
All right. Let's see if I can remember what a narwhal looks like. I am drawing with a mouse, by the way, so this is probably not gonna look great.
And that's all good.
I ran out of space on my board. So
Got 20 seconds left.
I need to give him fins. Oh, yeah, I think that's the best you're gonna get.
All right, and all right, your timer just ended, so you can just add any finishing touches, and then just send it to me through Discord.
All right, let's see here.
Oh, did you send it?
Sending now. There you go.
Oh, that's awesome. I like it. Awesome. Yeah, just thanks for coming on. Do you want to give any closing thoughts?
If you haven't already, go watch every Nintendo series explained and donate to the charity if we can, because even if we reached our goal, we can still raise more money.
Awesome. So yeah, just like thanks for coming on. Yeah, like you were a great guest to have. Like one thing is like I appreciate you for coming on. One thing is like yeah, our last two guests, well, the first guest, we're gonna have him on in the future again, but like they didn't like how they kind of okay, and I can't really share what they said, but like yeah, we just can't have it up. And then the second one, we just had a bunch of audio problems with that one, and then a few other reasons. So it's like, yeah. So like, I'm thankful like you decided to come on, just be and just be like another guest, and also like yeah, you're doing a great thing for the community too. It's like one thing you gathered all these creators that's like just spread awareness about something that's I don't know what to say. Just like yeah, just spread awareness about something good. Like doing it for a good cause. That's what I mean to say. I mean, yeah,
this whole project and experience has just been the epitome of you can do anything you put your mind to, no matter how small you think you are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because this whole project has proven that to me time and time again.
Yeah, I say the same thing about this one. Like, pretty much everyone I got on is like, wow, I would not have expected this a year ago, and then here we are. Yeah,
I wouldn't have expected this.
Yeah.
5 months ago. Ever.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, just thanks again for coming on. Yeah. You want to plug anything in?
Aside from the Nintendo project, I'm working on, aside from the Slime Rancher video, I have another very special video to me coming up. I'm not going to reveal what game it is, but it's going to have other people in it as well. It's another scuff guide, and it's for an indie game. That's all I will share.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks again for coming on. To the audience, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and yeah,